My wife was lying in the hospital bed, faking her death. I rushed over and slapped her twice right in the face. Then I immediately called the organ donation department, putting on a show of loving her to the very core. In my past life, I was paralyzed with grief. I drank the glass of water my wife's best friend handed me and fell into a coma for 3 days and 2 nights. When I woke up, my wife was already a jar of ashes. Before I could even arrange her funeral, creditors were already banging on my door. Only then did I find out, before she died, my wife had racked up tens of millions in foreign debt. They didn't just take both of my kidneys, they also forced me to work day and night to pay off the debt. In just 10 short years, I aged so much I looked like an 80-year-old man. And right at that moment, the wife who had died 10 years ago was hugging her lover, cruising right past me in a luxury car. She laughed and threw down $100, saying it was a thank you for my hard work. My chest tightened, unable to breathe. I died right there on the spot, with my eyes wide open in grievance. I was reborn on the exact day my wife had her heart attack. Looking at my wife covered by a white sheet in front of me, I sneered inwardly. There wasn't a single ounce of pain left. Fine, I'll help you get exactly what you want. My wife's best friend, Wang Man-yoon, urged me to drink some water. I snapped back to reality and looked up at her. In my past life, I passed out right after drinking this glass of water. It was a no-brainer. This water was definitely spiked. The goal was to make me miss Liu Ruyan's cremation. I put the glass down, ignoring Wang Man-yoon's attempts to stop me. I walked straight to Liu Ruyan's bed and pulled back the white sheet. Liu Ruyan's face was rosy. Her breathing was so steady, it was laughable. In my past life, I was just in too much pain and too stupid to notice this. I slowly raised my hand and slapped Liu Ruyan right across the face. Liu Ruyan remained perfectly still. Looks like she's terrified of being found out, Wang Man-yoon screamed, her voice almost cracking. She probably thought I had discovered Ruyan was faking her death. Hey, even if you're grieving, you shouldn't hit her so hard. I aimed at Liu Ruyan again and landed a few more heavy blows. Seeing that Wang Man-yoon was about to lose it, I immediately pretended to break down in tears. I told you not to stay up late. I told you to go see a doctor. Why wouldn't you listen to me? You left me all alone. How am I supposed to live now? Wang Man-yoon quietly gulped. She stood frozen in place. I didn't bother wasting any more time. I took out my phone and made a call right away. Hello? I'd like to make an organ donation. The person just passed away not long ago. Please come quickly. Wang Man-yoon wanted to rush over and stop me, but hesitated because of her position. She hurriedly grabbed her phone to send a text. A few minutes later, the people from the donation center arrived. I immediately put on a look of absolute agony. My wife was so kind-hearted when she was alive. Her passing was so sudden. I want her life to continue on. Maybe she can still save many others. You truly have a good heart. On behalf of those families, I thank you. So, which organs would you like to donate? I sighed and said, my wife died suddenly from a heart attack. I don't even know which organs are still viable. Just cut her open and take a look. Take whatever is still usable. If none of her organs can be used, then donating her body to a medical school is fine too. You can't do that. Ruyan never wanted to be an organ donor. She told me so herself. We have to respect her dying wish. Man-yoon, I am Ruyan's husband. I have the right to make this decision. You and Ruyan are just close friends. You're not blood relatives. Who actually has the authority here? I don't think I need to spell it out for you. Besides, for every minute you delay, the organs deteriorate a little more. You're a doctor yourself. Don't you want to save lives? The staff from the donation department also chimed in. That's right, Dr. Wang. Please step aside for now. How could Wang Man-yoon possibly step aside? She was so anxious she couldn't stand still. I just contacted her mom. You have to let her mother see. Ruyan's face one last time. Ruyan's mother, Du Xiaomin, came running in a panic. She hadn't even taken the curlers out of her hair. Looks like she was in the middle of a salon trip. Seeing Liu Ruyan still lying intact on the bed, she breathed a sigh of relief, then marched up and slapped me hard. You useless piece of trash. Ruyan was cursed the day she married you. You brought bad luck and killed my daughter, and now you want to cut her open? If anyone dares to touch my daughter today, I'll kill their whole family. No donations. We're not donating anything. If you want to butcher someone, go find another family. The organ donation staff looked regretful, but had no choice but to leave helplessly. Only then did Wang Man-yoon breathe a sigh of relief. She pulled the white sheet back over Liu Ruyan. Du Xiaomin sat down on the sofa nearby, pointed right at my face, and started screaming again. You greedy, rotten bastard! Your wife is dead and you don't even care. Instead of giving her a proper cremation, you wanted to turn her into an anatomy specimen. You won't even let my daughter rest in peace. If you want to be a saint so badly, go donate your own body. You can drop dead right now. I'll gladly donate your whole damn body. I held my face and let out a heavy sigh. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I don't care what you wanted. Get the hell out of here right now. I'll take my daughter to be cremated myself later. I immediately swallowed the rest of my words and handed the glass of water Wang Man-yoon had given me earlier over to Du Xiaomin. Du Xiaomin didn't suspect a thing. She had been stressed and cursing non-stop, so her mouth was completely dry. She tilted her head back and downed the whole glass. Wang Man-yoon couldn't stop her in time. Less than 2 minutes after drinking it, Du Xiaomin fell into a deep sleep. The cold sweat Wang Man-yoon had just wiped away instantly poured out again. She stammered, You're not going to call the donation center again, are you? I shook my head and helped Du Xiaomin lie comfortably on the sofa. Of course not. Mom said no. I obviously wouldn't dare do it now. Just as Wang Man-yoon breathed a sigh of relief, Auntie suddenly passed out. I don't think she's okay. You should hurry and take her to the emergency room. As for Ruyan, I'll arrange the cremation myself. I smirked coldly at her. You've got it backward. You're the doctor. You're the one who should be treating the patient. And I'm Ruyan's husband. It only makes sense for me to handle her cremation, don't you think? With that, I immediately called the crematorium. I told them to come as fast as possible. Wang Man-yoon was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. She kept shaking Du Xiaomin, trying to wake her up. But no matter how hard she shook her, Du Xiaomin lay there as motionless as a log. By the time the crematorium staff wheeled Liu Ruyan away, Wang Manyun finally couldn't hold back anymore. She grabbed my sleeve, her voice hoarse. I think I just saw Ruyan move. Maybe we should try resuscitating her one more time. Hearing that, I shoved the death certificate right in her face. Manyun, think carefully before you speak. If your dear Ruyan suddenly comes back to life right now, what kind of liability will your hospital face? What kind of liability will you face? This would be considered attempted murder, treating human life like garbage. I don't know if the hospital would stay open, but you would definitely go to prison. So think about it very carefully. Did you really see Ruyan move? Wang Manyun was a nervous wreck, completely unable to argue back. I sneered and brushed her hand off. Then I followed the crematorium's van. Wang Manyun cried out in despair, then frantically grabbed her phone to make a call. I looked at Liu Ruyan lying on the stretcher and couldn't help but laugh. But then I saw her finger twitch slightly. She probably realized she was about to be cremated, and the anesthesia was starting to wear off. She was waking up. Driver, please step on it. My mother-in-law wants to snatch my wife's body. She insists on donating her organs. But I just want my wife to leave this world in one piece, just like how she came into it. The driver immediately gripped the steering wheel and slammed on the gas. In my past life, when I ran into Liu Ruyan on the street, even though 10 years had passed, her face looked exactly the same as it did now, almost untouched by time. I knelt in front of her car, wanting to reunite with her, wanting to look closely to see if it was really Liu Ruyan, wanting to pour out all my longing from the past 10 years. Liu Ruyan squinted at me for a long time before barely recognizing me. She burst out laughing. Oh, it's you. It's only been 10 years, but you look older than my grandpa. Back then, my back was hunched, my voice was raspy. I really didn't look like a 50-year-old. I asked with a trembling voice, didn't you die? To get away from you, I had no choice but to fake my death. She didn't finish her sentence, but I understood everything. What was there left to misunderstand? If she had just asked for a divorce straight up, I definitely would have agreed. But a straightforward divorce meant she'd have to split half her assets with me, and she'd carry the stigma of cheating and abandoning her husband. Faking her death was different. Not only could she dump all her debt on me, she could also secretly transfer all her assets, and even change her identity, living freely and comfortably, openly, living with Jibata. I was so furious, I couldn't speak. Liu Ruyan seemed very eager to keep talking. She laughed and told me, actually, that day at the hospital, I could still hear you talking. The sound of you crying back then, I still remember it to this day. I was honestly so curious. How could a grown man cry like a honking goose? It was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Amidst her mocking laughter, I clutched my chest and collapsed to the ground. Jibata cried out in panic. Babe, he's not trying to scam us, is he? Let's get out of here. Liu Ruyan cursed about bad luck and drove straight off, not caring whether I lived or died. My last memory was the silhouette of their car fading away. Then everything faded to black. Now, looking at Liu Ruyan in front of me, still that same young, beautiful face. I leaned down close to her chest, listening to her steady heartbeat. The words I never got to say in my past life. I finally let them all out. You know I'm not dead. You've been cheating on me for a long time, and you deliberately faked your death just to run far away with that bastard, leaving me behind to pay off your debts. But I don't hate you. I've decided to respect your wishes. Since you want to be dead so badly, I'll get you cremated nice and early. I know you can still hear me right now, but I'm not sure if you can still feel pain. I hope you can, so you can feel exactly what it's like to be cremated. After all, being cremated alive is quite an eye-opening experience for you. Liu Ruyan's fingers trembled slightly. She couldn't move, but tears were already streaming down her face. I reached out and wiped her tears away. Don't rush. You can cry once you're in the furnace. There's still time. My phone rang non-stop. It was Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin calling. But right now, I'm just a pitiful man who just lost his wife. It's perfectly normal that I'm not in the mood to answer the phone. Right? The driver sped like the wind. A trip that usually took half an hour only took 20 minutes. But the crematorium was quite busy today. To get to Liu Ruyan's turn, we'd have to wait at least an hour. I frowned and went to find the manager. Then my expression instantly changed. Tears fell on command. My wife suddenly passed away from a heart attack. My mother-in-law fainted when she heard the news. She's currently in the emergency room. I need to hurry back. Please, let my wife be cremated first. I don't want anything to happen to my mother-in-law too. It was probably the manager's first time seeing someone asking to cut in line for a cremation. I understand you're in a hurry, but the other families have been waiting a long time too. It's really hard for me to let you cut the line. That's what he said, but he subtly rubbed his fingers together. I understood. He wanted money. So I took out my phone and transferred 2,000 yuan straight to him. I'm begging you, please help me this one time. I'm an orphan. My wife and mother-in-law have always treated me so well. I really can't afford to lose my mother-in-law too. The manager was moved by my sincerity, and so Liu Ruyan successfully cut the line. In less than 10 minutes, she was pushed straight into the incinerator. Just as the staff member was about to press the ignite button, I reached out and stopped him. I couldn't let him become a murderer. Besides, I had to exact this revenge with my own hands. Under my firm insistence, the staff member agreed to let me press the button myself. But right at that moment, Du Xiaomin's voice rang out from the door, along with a panicked Wang Manyun. Stop! Stop right now! What the hell are you doing? Stop it right now! Give me my daughter back! Wait! Auntie still has things she wants to say to Ruyan. Get out of the way! I won't allow you to cremate my daughter. I'll do it myself. Even at a time like this, two of them still wanted to keep up the fake death act. I fell to my knees and said in agony, Mom, Ruyan is gone. Let's just let her rest in peace. I am Ruyan's husband. I'm not going anywhere. Our argument drew quite a crowd of onlookers. The staff members looked at each other in bewilderment. Are you guys acting out a family drama or something? A crematorium isn't a place for jokes. Saying that, he reached out to press the ignite button. Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin desperately lunged forward, trying to stop him. The two of them looked like starving tigers pouncing on prey. Their fierce expressions startled the staff member. He dodged to the side in fear. Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin couldn't stop their momentum and slammed directly onto the button. Boom! Roaring flames instantly swallowed Liu Ruyan whole. Two ear-piercing screams rang out. Everyone turned to look at Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin, while I just stared intently at Liu Ruyan inside the incinerator. Liu Ruyan's anesthesia must have completely worn off. I caught a glimpse of her opening her mouth and raising her hand, but unfortunately, it was too noisy outside. No one paid attention to the inside. Over a minute passed before people turned back to look at the incinerator flames. The funeral home staff started whispering curiously. That's the first time I've seen an arm reach up that high. It looked just like a living person. Good thing it's daytime. If it were the middle of the night, I think it was a real zombie. I wiped away a non-existent tear and suppressed the corners of my mouth that were trying to curl up into a smile. Finally, I pretended to say, tragically, my wife loved her mother the most. She must have heard her mother's voice and wanted to sit up to see her one last time. Then I looked into the furnace, wiped my tears and said, honey, rest in peace. Don't worry, I promise I'll take good care of Mom. I'll do my best to reunite her with you soon. Wang Manyun didn't even care about Du Xiaomin sitting on the floor. She staggered to her feet. Seeing the scene inside the incinerator, she was so terrified she peed her pants. She lunged at the cremation button. Why is my life so miserable? Stop burning her! It was the staff's first time seeing family members this agitated. They quickly pulled Wang Manyun away. We know you're grieving, but the dead can't come back to life. If you act like this, you won't be able to rest in peace. Wang Manyun's face was terrifyingly pale. She slumped heavily onto the floor. It's over. She's really beyond saving this time. Du Xiaomin crawled to my feet, tugging at my pant leg while cursing. You bastard, you killed my daughter. Give me my daughter's life back. I sighed, took out the death certificate, and said, I know you're heartbroken, Mom, but Ruyan's death has nothing to do with me. She died from a sudden heart attack. If you don't believe me, ask Manyun. She was the one who personally tried to resuscitate Ruyan. She's also the one who gave me this death certificate. After saying that, I turned to look at Wang Manyun, biting my lip to keep from laughing. Isn't that right, Manyun? Wang Manyun had absolutely no idea what to say. If she said Ruyan wasn't dead, then where did the death certificate come from? If she said Ruyan was dead, Du Xiaomin wouldn't believe it even more. But as soon as I said that, Du Xiaomin immediately reacted. It was you killed her. You killed the daughter who loved me the most, and you still dare to use a death certificate to trick me? Now my daughter has been cremated. This is all your fault. That was a great line. Everyone present was stunned. The staff's faces turned pale too. Oh my god, so it was murder. Hearing this, Du Xiaomin's eyes rolled back and she fainted. I immediately reacted and slapped Wang Manyun right across the face. Manyun, are you crazy? How can you joke about something like this? My wife is dead. What nonsense are you spouting? Wang Manyun was slapped silly by me. Hearing this, the surrounding staff also thought Wang Manyun was just talking crazy. Everyone went back to their own business. Seeing that Liu Ruyan's cremation was finished, I put on a look of extreme anger, hugged Liu Ruyan's ashes, and left the funeral home. Before leaving, I didn't forget to leave Wang Manyun with one last sentence. You made my mother-in-law faint for no reason. So you're responsible for taking her to the hospital. It wasn't that I didn't want to stay and watch the drama, but I genuinely had more important things to do. When I got home, I casually placed the urn of Liu Ruyan's ashes in the most visible spot in the room and immediately contacted a lawyer to handle the inheritance of Liu Ruyan's company and assets. By the time they come to their senses, the company will be gone. In this life, I won't be left empty-handed like before. Once Du Xiaomin wakes up, she will definitely try to contact lawyer Chen first. Ruyan left too suddenly. She once mentioned a family trust to me and offshore accounts. I hope you can use all your connections within 48 hours to track down the real cash flow under her name. Chen Jianzhong hesitated slightly on the other end of the line. Mr. Li, according to the current public records, Ms. Liu only has a few properties, a consulting firm on the verge of bankruptcy. Furthermore, she's carrying millions in debt. Is that so, lawyer Chen? Liu Ruyan is shrewd to the bone. She'd rather fake her death than get a divorce, which proves that the assets she wants to keep are far greater than that debt. I'll pay triple your investigation fee. With money paving the way, everything gets done fast. The next afternoon, I received an encrypted email from lawyer Chen. Just as I had guessed, Liu Ruyan had been using the medical consulting firm under her name to frequently launder money and transfer assets. Through Wang Manyun's position as a doctor, she also illegally purchased large quantities of prescription drugs and registered several offshore companies under her name. What's more, I discovered a secret safe. The address was right inside that rundown garage. When I pushed up the rusty rolling door, a musty smell hit me right in the face. In a corner I had never stepped foot in before, I pried open a hidden compartment. There was no jewelry inside, just some neatly stacked cash and a few cryptocurrency hardware wallets, tens of millions in debt. Liu Ruyan, you plan to push me into a hell of debt while you ran off with tens of millions in Bitcoin to live abroad with Jibata? I did a quick count. The cash alone here was over 2 million. I wasn't in a hurry to deposit it in the bank. Instead, I contacted the loan companies, where Liu Ruyan owed the most money. The best way to deal with ruthless loan sharks isn't to hide. It's to open the door and invite them in. I arranged to meet the managers at a high-end private club. Gentlemen, Liu Ruyan has been cremated. Here's the death certificate. I'm sure you've all heard the news. Mr. Lin, the person may be dead, but the debt isn't. You are the primary heir. You have to pay this money. I never said I wouldn't pay. Here's 2 million. Consider it a show of good faith. I'm paying off a portion of the interest first. As for the rest, once I take over Liu Ruyan's company, I will legally mortgage the shares to pay you back. But I have one condition. Liu Ruyan's mother, Du Xiaomin, and a man named Ji Bada. They might still be holding on to Liu Ruyan's private funds. Right now, they're spreading rumors everywhere, saying I murdered her, so they can seize the opportunity to swallow this inheritance. If they actually succeed, I'm afraid you gentlemen won't get a single dime back. So what you're saying, Mr. Lin, is, don't let them ruin your repayment plan. And while we're at it, give them a taste of what it's like to be hunted by creditors. Didn't they want proof? Then let them sink deep into the mud of debt first. Liu Ruyan's company was called Ruyan Trading. The name sounded elegant, but it was actually an empty shell filled with dirty dealings. On my first day taking over the company, I brought along 12 burly bodyguards. The head of the finance department, Wang Jin, who was also Wang Manyun's cousin, was currently reviewing files. His face turned pale. Director Lin, this is against protocol. Boss Liu just passed away, and you're already making a scene? Are you trying to purge all of us veteran employees? Protocol? Embezzling 380,000 in company funds, forging invoices. Manager Wang, do you want to talk to me about protocol, or do you want to talk about your life with the investigation team? I'll give you half an hour. Copy all the emails and transactions between Liu Ruyan and Ji Beidai from your computer right now. Get it done, and I'll write off that 380,000 for you. Don't do it, and you can go to prison instead of me. In less than 20 minutes, I had everything I needed, along with proof of Liu Ruyan illegally transferring assets to Jibada and the contracts for the overseas real estate they bought together. These things were originally Liu Ruyan's trump cards to start a new life after faking her death, but now they had all become evidence of fraud and illegal asset transfers. The sky was gloomy. Watching my bank account balance continuously tick up, I felt absolutely nothing. The real estate under Liu Ruyan's name, digital assets in the cold wallets, plus the shares after consolidating the company, the total value had exceeded 50 million. As for the tens of millions in debt, under my manipulation, it had turned into Liu Ruyan's personal fraudulent debt. Since the person involved was dead and her assets had been liquidated to pay it off, the remaining bad debt fell entirely on the guarantor's head, Du Xiaomin. This was my final gift to her. Wifey, thank you. Now I have money, houses, and a company. I'll definitely live a very comfortable life from now on, even more comfortable than your past life. I drank until I was dead drunk and fell asleep right on the sofa. It wasn't until the next day that I was woken up by a knock on the door. I rubbed my splitting headache and went to open the door. Outside were Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin. There was also a man a few years older than me. From his looks, it was definitely the Jibada I had seen in my past life. His face was full of grief and indignation. He was holding the hand of a little boy, about 6 or 7 years old. His facial features looked a lot like Liu Ruyan's. Could this be Liu Ruyan's illegitimate child with him? No wonder after we got married, Liu Ruyan refused to have kids. Turns out she had already had a child with her ex. The three of them looked absolutely miserable, with heavy dark circles under their eyes. There were also a few police officers behind them. Officer, it's this guy. He cremated my daughter while she was still alive. Arrest him right now. Take him and cremate him too. Let him taste what it feels like. I had already guessed this scene would happen. I just didn't expect them to come so fast. I pretended to sigh helplessly and said, Mom, can you stop saying things like that? Saying that, I took out the death certificate. Officer, this is my wife's death certificate. My mother-in-law can't accept my wife's passing. Her mental state might be a bit unstable. There's no issue with the certificate. I sighed and continued. My wife and I were married for 3 years. We always had a great relationship. I knew my wife was gone, and I didn't want her body to decompose, so I immediately took her to be cremated. Did I do something wrong? Du Xiaomin clutched her chest and screamed, You're lying! My daughter was sick of a boring man like you a long time ago. If Beta hadn't been unable to get a divorce back then, why would Ruyan have married you out of spite? You did it on purpose. You purposely cut the line. You purposely cremated her just to steal my daughter's inheritance and company. I confirmed it with the people at the company yesterday. Are you still going to deny it? I put on a look of disbelief. My eyes turned red as if I was about to cry. Mom, you can scold me, but the love between Ruyan and me was real. If Ruyan and I didn't love each other, why would she make me her sole heir? You say Ruyan is still alive. Then why don't you think about it? A huge hospital like that, could they really not tell the difference between a living person and a dead one? Manyun personally told me that Ruyan was dead, that her heart had stopped beating. What living person is like that? Du Xiaomin looked over at Wang Manyun, but Wang Manyun just lowered her head in silence. Come to think of it, if she opened her mouth now and admitted the death certificate was fake, that would be no small crime. Might as well stick to the lie to the bitter end. The atmosphere instantly fell into a deadlock. Jibada tugged at Du Xiaomin's sleeve. Only then did Du Xiaomin shut her mouth. He sighed. I didn't expect you to actually still be alive. I am Ruyan's ex-boyfriend. Back then, Ruyan and I broke up over a misunderstanding. She married you out of spite. I got divorced this year and brought our child to find Ruyan. Ruyan realized she still loved me, so she wanted to fake her death to leave you. We just didn't expect that. You would directly cremate her. But don't blame Ruyan. She only did it because she didn't want to hurt you. Anyway, she was a very kind-hearted person. Since Ruyan is no longer with us, we just hope you can accept this child, so he can receive his rightful inheritance. I took a sip of water and mimicked Du Xiaomin's tone. You're lying. I know you and Ruyan didn't get along, Mom, but before she died, Ruyan didn't leave you a single dime, so you dragged this kid you picked up from who knows where over here to slander Ruyan just to get a piece of her assets, right? Du Xiaomin was so furious she almost died, but for the sake of money, she forced herself to calm down. You're lying, Ruyan, and I had a great relationship. This is Ruyan's child. It's obvious I directly pulled out Liu Ruyan's will. Why are you lying, Mom? If you and Ruyan had such a great relationship, why isn't your name anywhere in this will? Why was all her property left to me? Du Xiaomin choked, unable to speak. Jibada also started to hesitate. After all, he couldn't just come out and say that Liu Ruyan made the will for me, just so I could take on her debt. I glanced at the child standing behind Jibada and sneered inwardly. So she played the good wife for 3 years and suddenly didn't want to act anymore because her ex and son came back. But I didn't feel sad at all. After all, I had already died once. I said calmly, you say this child is Ruyan's, then show me the proof. Like a legally recognized paternity test or a birth certificate. Jibada and Du Xiaomin said in unison, there's no paternity test, because the child was born at home, so there's no birth certificate either. But he really is Ruyan's child, officer. You heard them clearly, right? They know my wife has been cremated, so they deliberately brought a child here to demand an inheritance, and spread dangerous rumors that I burned my wife alive. But their own words are already contradicting each other. Du Xiaomin stammered. I can do a DNA test with the child to prove I'm his grandmother. Wouldn't that prove he's Rion's child? The police officer shook his head. That's not enough. It only proves you and the child are blood relatives. It doesn't prove he's Liu Ruyan's child. Even if you could prove it, it wouldn't confirm that you and your husband only had one child, Ruyan. I almost burst out laughing. Actually, the main reason I insisted on cremating Liu Ruyan back then was mostly because I was worried about this exact situation. I didn't expect my guess to be spot on. Du Xiaomin and Jibada exchanged a glance. Jibada gritted his teeth. It doesn't matter whose child he is, but Ruyan really wasn't dead. He's the one who cremated her. He's a murderer. He can't inherit Ryan's assets. Jibada wasn't wrong about that. But the prerequisite was he had to prove I was the murderer first. I suddenly looked over at Wang Manyun. Manyun, you tell them. Was Ruyan dead or alive? You're a doctor. You have a family too. Think carefully before you answer. Maybe you don't remember, but I remember very clearly. When the cremation button was pressed, you and Mom were the ones who lunged forward and pressed it. If Ruyan was really still alive, then you and Mom are the murderers. I deliberately twisted their attempt to stop it into an intentional act of pressing the button. Before Du Xiaomin could even yell, "You're lying!" Wang Manyun gritted her teeth and said, Ruyan was really dead. I breathed a sigh of relief, but Jibada held up his phone. I figured you would lie, so I brought proof. Jibada played a video on his phone. The video showed Jibada, Liu Ruyan, Wang Manyun, and Du Xiaomin sitting on a sofa, discussing the fake death plan. Liu Ruyan's voice rang out from the phone, just as disgusting as in my past life. When the time comes, I'll inject the anesthesia. You find a way to knock my husband out, then tell him that I've already been cremated. Once it's done, I'll give you $1 million. But this recording wasn't complete. It didn't include the part where they privately discussed making me shoulder the debt. Wang Manyun collapsed to the floor, completely at a loss for how to defend herself. I really didn't know about that. Jibada seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. I really wasn't lying to you. You really did kill Ryan, so you have to go to prison. And all these assets should rightfully belong to Auntie. I pretended to be scared stiff, saying nothing. After silently preparing my emotions, looking like I was in extreme agony, I shot up to my feet. Officer, I want to report a crime. The three of them deliberately made my wife fake her death and didn't tell me a thing. I was in so much pain, I wished I was dead. I had no idea my wife hadn't passed away. Those two clearly knew I wanted to donate her organs, and they knew I wanted to take her to be cremated, but they deliberately kept quiet about her still being alive. They did it on purpose. They purposely wanted me to cremate my wife, so they could bring someone here to steal her assets. I only knew my wife was dead, so I followed the normal procedures to cremate her. Is that a crime? Of course not. Those two didn't expect me to articulate it so clearly. They thought that once I knew the truth, I would break down and let them lead me by the nose. But I'd already died once. I was no longer the naive, stupid fool from my past life. The moment I woke up, I had already thought it through. Exactly how to take every next step. I choked up until my throat was hoarse. Back then, when I wanted to donate her organs, Mom, you were there too. When you stopped me from donating, why didn't you tell me the truth? If she just wanted a divorce, how could I not be furious? It was clearly you people who deliberately tricked Ryan, making her believe your bullshit and choose to fake her own death. Also, I would be the one to personally send my own wife to the cremator. You people are truly vicious. That's because Ryan said we absolutely had to make you believe it. That's why I only dared to stop you from donating your bone marrow. I didn't dare tell you the truth. Then what about this? On my way to the crematorium, you called me. That proves you knew I was about to cremate Ryan. I was too grief-stricken to answer the phone at the time, so why didn't you send a text? Besides, when I got to the crematorium, Ryan clearly hadn't been cremated yet. Why didn't you tell me the truth then? Instead, right in front of everyone, you pressed the cremation button without a second thought. Du Xiaomin and Wang Manyun were left speechless. But I knew why. They thought they still had time. They figured if they could just trick me into stepping outside for a moment at the crematorium, everything would work out. After all, it was just a chaotic mess of accusations. But in the end, this whole commotion led to nothing. Everyone had their own side of the story. No one was willing to back down. So the police had no choice but to take everyone to the station and detain them for the time being, pending further investigation. But a few days later, the investigation came to a conclusion. I was in fact just a simple husband, completely unaware of Liu Ruyan's affair. I never questioned her business trips or social engagements. I never checked her phone. They even questioned our neighbors, my friends, and my colleagues. They even reviewed the security camera footage from our home when Liu Ruyan was still alive. It confirmed that we were a very loving couple. We almost never argued. But the police couldn't possibly know that I'd been reborn. Looking only at the current evidence, how could a husband like me kill his own wife for no reason? As for Du Xiaomin, Wang Manyun, and Jibada, their testimonies were full of holes. They clearly had countless opportunities to tell me that Liu Ruyan wasn't dead, but they waited until after I had cremated her to finally speak up. Especially Wang Manyun and Du Xiaomin. They clearly saw Liu Ruyan being put into the incinerator with their own eyes, yet they still didn't tell the truth. They even pressed the button themselves. Although they claimed it was a mistake, who would believe that? Not only that, the whole faked death incident from the start was truly shocking. So, the investigation concluded that I was just a poor, innocent man who had lost his wife, and the other three were arrested on suspicion of murder. After being released on bail, Du Xiaomin and Jibada still wouldn't give up. They sent people to block my way every single day. I reported it to the building management first, then to the police, but they stuck to me like glue, clinging on relentlessly. In the end, I used Liu Ruyan's assets to hire 100 bodyguards, and I gave them an order. If anyone comes looking for trouble, aside from those two, beat up everyone else for me. After all, I can afford it. The effect was immediate. Du Xiaomi and Jibada were left untouched, but the thugs they hired to cause trouble were out of luck. They ended up filling the hospital's quota for the entire month. In the end, no matter how Du Xiaomin and he tried to stir things up, no one was willing to follow them and cause trouble anymore. The two of them were furious. All they could do was try to kill me with their glares. As for me, I happily watched their little show, enjoying my life right in front of them. Fine wine, champagne, beautiful women, and luxury cars. I was making up for everything I lacked in my past life. It made Du Xiaomin and Jiboda grind their teeth in anger. Until 3 months later, the verdict for the case was announced. The three of them were found guilty of murder and sentenced to life in prison. When the police arrived at her house with the arrest warrant, Du Xiaomin immediately put on a show. She threw a fit, refusing to go. She climbed onto the balcony, threatening to jump, cursing me for having my own wife killed. She said I was worse than an animal and would go to hell. Then she cursed the police for their flawed reasoning, for convicting an innocent person. The crowd of onlookers below grew larger and larger. Du Xiaomin seemed to see a glimmer of hope. She wanted to incite the crowd to demand justice for her. She spoke tragically, tears and snot running down her face. This went on for an hour, until someone in the crowd casually asked, "So, are you gonna jump or not? Is this a play? You're wasting my time." Du Xiaomin was so enraged, she jumped up, but unexpectedly she slipped and fell straight down. With a loud thud, she died on the spot. Wang Manyun's fate was just as tragic. After the news of the incident spread, her husband immediately divorced her. Not only did he take their child, but he also forced the child to cut all ties with Wang Manyun, forbidding them from ever acknowledging her as their mother again. Before the police came for her, Wang Manyun came to me several times begging. She hoped I would, for old time's sake, write her a letter of forgiveness. She said if I was willing to forgive her, she would do anything. She didn't want to see her family fall apart. But when my family was destroyed in my past life, did anyone ever pity me? The karma you create, you must bear yourself. The last time, she even stripped in front of me. I just laughed coldly and had my bodyguards throw her out. Later, I heard that Wang Manyun attempted suicide several times in prison, but she never succeeded. As for Jiboda, his story was even more ridiculous. He tried to play the sympathy card with me. He said that the child was innocent, that since I loved Liu Ruyan so much, how could I bear to let her flesh and blood lose both parents and become an orphan? Besides, he said the child was smart from a young age and could even help me manage my company in the future. As for himself, he said he wasn't greedy. As the child's biological father, all I had to do was give him a few million for his retirement. He promised he would never appear before me again. So I just laughed in his face. I've already arranged for the orphanage. The child won't suffer. As for you, Ruyan, must be lonely down there. You should go keep her company. Amidst Jiboda's frantic curses, I walked out of the police station with a faint smile. It was a complete break from the past. After everything was settled, I dismissed all 100 of the bodyguards I had hired, and I gave each of them a large bonus. Among them was a female bodyguard. Not only was she extremely dedicated to her work, but her personality was also a great match for mine. Plus, she was beautiful. Most importantly, she embodied one word: loyalty. So, I sold my old house. Using the money Liu Ruyan left behind, I moved into a much larger villa, and that bodyguard moved in with me. As for Liu Ruyan's ashes, I've always kept them with me, because I believe that heaven is watching. I want her to see clearly from up there just how happy my life has become. Director Lin, what should we do next? Her stunning figure was tense. The usually sharp-eyed bodyguard showed a rare hint of shyness. Standing behind me, she fidgeted nervously. I chuckled. Of course, we're going to support the national policy. Let's try for triplets.